Hello, CNN Newsroom and Lisa Ling. CNN Newsroom, you guys are on there right now reporting about Haiti and about gangs. And Lisa Ling has sources involved with predicate acts and wire crimes and wrongdoing. And with uses of her, in other words, they had a person on there pretend motivations of people and intentions matter where they don't matter. And they're doing this with the sources of CNN and that are involved with predicate acts on and off Trinity College and on and off Harvard, Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, and all along the route from Old Weathersfield to there, through time. And in other words, they pretend people make worldviews in conspiracy theories, and they're preventing us from speaking about actual sequence shifts and interbranch switching and forging names. They know what that means. Then they look for other things, and they use time always too slow. They had roles with a whole bunch of kids that were brought to the Britain Superior Court from Weathersfield when I was a kid, and they were hiding their roles with the kids with ties within the Britain Superior Court, Hartford courts, that were the ones committing the crimes with the courts. And then they're using the courts to speak fake things into records, falsified police reports through time rolls. So there are other police forms in the FBI in their defendant capacities too, under former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, personally with his lawyer, Robert Cheverie, also with their co-defendants, Thaddeus Grabowski, and others on and off Central Connecticut, on and off these campuses, on and off court cases, legal cases against me and other people. In other words, they were roles with the sources of the falsified police reports with the interbranch switching names. They fabricate police reports, put charges, confess that they kept switching the arresting officer's name, introduced another one. And that has prevented me from speaking about the Officer Magnanos made confessions and demonstrations of his roles with names criminally involved with the World Trade Center, like a Stephen Manos, who was in the World Trade Center attack location right before it happened, with me and others. Not in the towers, but right next to it in the Ninth Circuit Court, where post-dated documents had been presented to the Ninth Circuit post-dated from inside the court, which was proven afterwards. And that was in Manhattan. That was right before the World Trade Center attack. Someone post-dated documents insidiously to present them to the judges. And that proven led to a 2006 district court part of a case, /S, which is one of the cases they attached me to fake conversations with about. One of the cases that were ongoing at the time of my father's death. A whole bunch of people that work with Hartford Hospital and other Hartford hospitals have roles with police forms. They have roles with untimely deaths, drugs and medicines crimes, and sexual crimes with the interbranch families that are personally involved with the doctors. Fake conversations with me, like two Brendan Leahys, women in their family. They got little digital pictures of their kids involved with leaders of the kids, involved with digital crimes with pictures of kids. In other words, they're involved with identity thefts and frauds, lying to their kids and through the schools. And there's a Sonny Bejerio who recorded, confessed, demonstrated, made all these confessions and statements to me when I was a kid. I never responded to. I don't know him. And then he stole a speaker box, put it in my car. I never got to respond to anything in writing with that either. The judge was speaking fake things in the records with them. They're involved with drugs and medicines crimes, federal crimes with evidences, federal crimes and rules of evidences, leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since. If you try to ask for CNN for help on Facebook or YouTube, they're blaming Facebook and YouTube for what the FBI is criminally involved with them, with their court sources are criminally involved with them. They have criminally foreign influence uses of a story that CNN did with Paul Manafort Drive. On and off Paul Manafort Drive since before I went to school there, the sides of the college and the transition of people going on and off was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved a whole bunch of people involved with houses next to schools in Weathersfield, intercities with the intelligence community, criminally foreign influence, worse than gangs, worse than just overt criminal enterprises. They have the identity thefts and frauds. They have the police and prosecutors and judges with the overt criminal enterprises and private ones, killers, people next to it, all manifest as victim predators, like with this stuff with worldviews, these games, pretending people are making conspiracy theories. They're pretending they have conversations with people to do so. And before they had roles with the sexual dysfunctions of people from my town who are involved with rape threats with the British Superior Court, other passion crimes with the British Superior Court that were used to force effectively child abuses and further roles with the principal child abuser proven. Before that was proven, that was used to force it. Joshua Julian and my town's police chief and his family, Jessica Cintron. I never saw her around, never had a conversation with Jessica Cintron in my life. She was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with Jonathan Mayano, involved with sequence shifts, identity thefts and frauds, falsified police reports, roles, and with the confessions of people at the British Superior Court criminally involved with him as victim predators since they were kids, involved with databases involved, and identity thefts and frauds, oriented, predicate acts, wrongdoing, and their roles and background spreading lies and rumors with overt criminal enterprises, plural. I never saw a Brian Bonin around any of his friends in my life, and those kids that told me he told me to go in there. In other words, I don't know them. I don't even know. In other words, I can't even remember. I know there's a neighbor of mine that used to live on my street, and he moved over to near the Vizino house. And then, so there's the name Cololo. There's a Phil Cololo by Bob Chase, and just the name Cololo, confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with Wethersfield Police, who wire crimes over the last 7-8 months, and before that, and before the pandemic, and their Facebook page and the Facebook pages of the New Britain Superior Court and of the kids' campuses are involved with the further child abuses. Now there are all kinds of foreign and domestic people, doctors of psychiatry, and people associated with them, like sociology, families, and stuff like that, involved also with a pattern recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. People had conversations with me, with teachers of mine that I never even had conversations with personally, and people made confessions in those contexts relevant as the people involved with predicate acts in my area and uses of the corners and their roles as identity thefts and frauds, with deans forging and switching names and making confessions verbally and non-verbally on and off campuses through time. And so I can't get a response in writing from any of the people involved because I caught them before the World Trade. I didn't know it was tied to my father's case. And I knew after it was tied to the World Trade Center. But I didn't know, but I knew it was time-wise and stuff like that. But then now I could explain it. See, but no one's letting me or any people explain things. We're not even being allowed defenses from things. There are all kinds of people recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, sought me out to confess, demonstrate, record. They're involved formally with Social Security, with identity thefts and frauds, using uses of those databases and other to put fabricated audio and video stuff into databases. There are also, all kinds of scams with the databases at Hartford Hospital and other Hartford hospitals that are involved with police forms and nurses' cliques, foreign and domestic, involved with child sex offenders and with my name criminally and with falsified police reports. And as sick punks, then they pretend it's prejudice when you respond. And they bring up, when they fight with logic, they're talking stupid about communities and things like that. They're pretending about their passions and emotions out of sequence. No, in other words, not because when you ask with calm speech and with a proper demeanor for help and things like that, where they're obligated no matter what to follow mandated law. They pretend. They just pretend things. They attach people to fake physical behavior. They pretend to fake locations. These are courts personally criminally involved with doctors, foreign and domestic, at locations and with predicate acts on my street. So, in other words, notice how they have music playing in the background. The overt criminal enterprises and the private ones and the news involved with, in other words, NBC Connecticut News attached me to fake emails. They did this as one of the ones with the various natures of courts. And these are also people out of the state judicial branch offices, roles with the Fienza family, and a whole bunch of people tied to them with confessions with the Dillon family, also on my street, involved with predicate acts, and roles with real estate companies criminally, and on off the state judicial branch and those houses next to it with this Fienza family. Also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with identity theft, frauds, falsifying police reports, roles with crimes with investigators along Two-Route Highway, where it runs into Hangdog Lane, into the Berlin Turnpike before the heart of Hartford. The 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with the Spada family and Fred Grisey, were involved with judges, family members, who themselves, like a Delafair family, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed their identity thefts and frauds of me years ago, federal crimes with kids, federal roles of falsified police reports, drugs crimes with kids, medicines crimes with kids, wire crimes with kids, and they used to and they would sequence shift where and how, and through time too, where there is corruption with the FBI and with the state police and with the Wethersfield police. They all also through time had roles with the same house. /S involved with them with predicate acts, also on the Wethersfield town offices. So they need to pretend people make conspiracy theories. They have Connecticut reactions to the crime surge in Connecticut, where and how it was is hyper recorded, which is actually recorded. It is in demonstration of where and how the kids of politicians of all levels and of mayors and of the executive police forms and the private tied to them, different and people associated with body dumping spots, through time kept behind the same sequence as finding active progressive lives. People involved with campuses, intercampuses and intra-campuses, they have an identity theft fraud method role. So there's a Lombardo family also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed roles with, and others I never saw on my street before, but they're involved with the people with the Wethersfield police and the families that answer phones for them through time, with drugs and medicines crimes with kids, also with their doctors, reportedly by other police. When they were kids, they had psychological doctors. Now these are people also involved with more sequence shifts and fake things typed into other databases at other courts. And so they used the federal criminals as co-defendants in various cases before they were caught. And they used plaintiffs and defendants and their witnesses. They attached everyone to fake words, fake locations, fake audio and video, even putting people on fake locations and natures and ties relate to strangers and people they barely know that they never saw on campus. They're pretending that we're on there together. See, I call Hartford Court has men and women that work for them that have family members and like sexually tied to them. People that are involved also, like at the corner of New Park Avenue and Park Street, where a young girl just got shot. No, they're involved with guns crimes with judges and prosecutors, people involved with foreign and domestic military, and with bars in that area involved with identity thefts and frauds, switching names with the courts. And on and off Central Connecticut State University, there's an officer named Hunter, or he's switching and forging names of other officers with one of the Hartford courts involved with the judges that also don't present their name and they don't follow mandated law while they're pretending other. But they're preventing writing through time too. And so these are the same ones that have drugs and medicines crimes with overt criminal enterprises, and they have it with private ones, and they have it with everyone formally and private tied to them and to their family members and where they work, which is also with people with the campuses. So there's an officer Magnanos who also has a daughter of his, and there's a former Governor Malloy involved with people with East Hartford, and there's a Jennifer Cormier, I barely know, who confirmed roles spreading lies with DeMoro families with the Wethersfield police and the foreign families of work criminal enterprises. When I was in middle school, they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed roles with Joe DeMora recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed roles with a former Mayor Gold's family and daughter and neighbors, and after though no off campus, and then demonstrated tied to a executive police foreign family and O'Brien family. See, Weathersfield families had roles with insights into what is at CCSU and what is at Trinity College and what is at UConn, that is manifest intercampuses and manifest on-off locations and manifest where and how they've been using not just falsified police reports role, even where they're telling truths and the kids commit crimes. They were recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed when they were in grammar school. And then even making confessions, demonstration about people that I remember from even before that. In other words, involved criminally foreign influenced. The interbranch family members record, confess, demonstrate, confirm how they are differentially, constantly, increasingly though, criminally foreign influenced. So even where they don't want to be, they have to self-value that having been, because it is increasingly, and that's which was used remotely. But that's only part of what was used remotely. Everything manifests with that, which spills over to locations. So there's a Perone family, I don't know that at all, that sought me out to pretend other a couple times. Two times, Tom Perone and his sister, they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with an O'Brien family with those two times. And then one time I saw his sister in a park, and one time in her backyard with the same people involved. In other words, they made all these confessions, the three people that said they were her boyfriends. And one of them has a twin brother, so it's four people. And then there's a Jamie Carone with the last name as a Kevin Carone, Mark Carone. I don't know them. All exception nature is demonstration of the same thing. And I say exception nature too because, for example, one of the reasons is because criminal insidiousness nature, and natures like wrongdoers are relevant. These are systemic identity thefts and frauds narrative natures, the overt criminal enterprises, and people formally and private pretending to be against racism, pretending to be against prejudice, offensively, pretending to, and then they have to switch and say, oh, well, it's about inclusion. Well, they're out of their minds. Inclusion, if they care about inclusion, they would keep it honest, because Hartford, Connecticut, let alone the suburbs, let alone Hartford, Connecticut, let alone New York City, they were designed to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, designed by a breaching method that was here before our founding parents were born. Look, want to see where evidence can be found? Look when someone makes an opinion, when someone says, oh, our founding parents owned slaves, and then search the response or no response. That's where you could discern. In other words, George Washington could tell no lies. For him to be able to tell no lies, you have to demonstrate he had to leave slavery entrenched in the North and in the South because it was entrenched. Because everyone, those laws were not just that you don't have free speech or not. Oh, it's either you have free speech or you don't. In other words, they had to hide their roles with what actually led up to and gave the beauty of the surface values of the Constitution simultaneously. Still abridged, however. So it's just simultaneously unrealized on a mass scale. So you guys are preventing actual premises treatments that are of quality and actually and integrity pure from being used or even spoken. You guys are preventing sequence shifts from being reported. And that is what is needed first to be reported, because there are other things and motivations involved. You guys have roles with forcing and having forced Saudi. You lied to Saudi Arabia because you forced them. You had to hide that. Now you have to hide that. Now our side incurred damages upon us with sanctions and all that because those investigations were worthless. But see, other countries kept and keep that the outcome too. Because when I was in grammar school in Wethersfield, New Britain Superior Court was already criminally involved with people from the other classrooms in my grade who were spreading lies and attaching me to fake words, fake ties to other people, fake ties to themselves, fake natures of ties to themselves when I was in grammar school. Then they had to make confessions down in middle school with kids that weren't in my middle school class either. And I never saw Joe DeMora, Heather Hansen around high school, middle school, or the they I don't even know if they went to my grammar school. Mike Kerr said him and his brother went to my grammar school. Jerry Kerr, a father's name is Jerry Kerr too. They also have people from Maine. They were also involved with overt criminal enterprises and the killer, reportedly, the reported killer. And the people on the criminal enterprises that are other than that. And roles with people on and off the state judicial branch offices with that, who also timed roles on and off the campuses and with the uses of the corners of streets near me. There's a Joshua Stryker, also one of the ones with women I don't know the names of when they were girls. They would make, they would make confessions and demonstrations at corners from other locations of school. I don't know, I never saw them around. Because used to hide the lie progressions per the extent of whatever, which I know enough of. The O'Brien family and Andrew O'Brien, Tim O'Brien, Dennis O'Brien's mother, involved with Hartford Police, Wethersfield Police, a police chief through time and 1 year ago, involved with wire crimes with them. Crimes with role method / where he used to walk around and have conversations with people in Wethersfield, and there's a John Laurie. I don't know John Laurie. I don't know if he has brother or sister, but that's one of the houses near the corner of Highcrest Street and Hangdog Lane. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed with an O'Brien family and Rick C.M. Faglione family involved with identity thefts and frauds, attaching me to fake locations, fake ties to themselves, fake natures of ties to themselves, after whatever they were doing with the databases, and they confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed. In other words, the Leahy, two of the Brendan Leahys, and the father of the Brendan Leahy has been involved with drugs and medicines crimes with prosecutors and judges with them since they were kids, fabricating police reports, planting fake evidences, including wire crime rolls, including O'Brien family calling the police on my sister when he was in grammar school, already recorded for what he got caught doing, calling the police and hanging up. Or what they told him to do that, because he was also involved already, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved, corrupt with his family members, and where and how criminal foreign influences are relevant also to where and how they prevent the juxtaposed value of the Native Americans and of that breaching method against them. And against the colonists sickly distinctly. That is also what answers what made them sick. The colonists sickly distinctly hurt victim predators against the Native Americans. They were only capable of being predators. The same way they made the Native Americans only capable of fighting with themselves. They took away their education. That is revealed most probable and practical to opine / convict and or counter convict, because we have to make counter convictions because we have offensively, formally, originally, still all formal opinion / conviction natures, criminally foreign influence premises treatments, sequence treatments, identity treatments, also delusions wrought simultaneously, and that is self-valued where and how they pretend passions and emotions. They pretend we attack them. Lisa Ling, please don't pretend I attacked you. CNN, please don't pretend I attacked you. This is you guys are on your Facebook pages. You guys don't respond. It's not fair. Don't blame it on Facebook. I'm asking you, what do they go? You guys, the FBI and other agencies criminally involved, and the courts criminally involved. Other positions of them since they were kids. As victims too. Then they want to pretend I'm saying everything bad about everyone. Oh, you said it. Now you're leaving out the exceptions. They brought themselves into narratives. In other words, they know I minded my business. And then they know they minded their business. They attach everyone to fake words too. That's why you have to get them on paper from the names forging and switching too. The same people that sequence shift. And they have fake conversations with me about legal cases. And they have fake conversations with little boys and girls and men. When they have to report things, before they report things, they already wrote fake things in there, in case they do report. Same people with pretending passions and emotions. Not by accident, they never got caught what they're already recorded doing anyway, is pretending to be for women's rights. Where and how they've been hiding live aggressions because they've been at all locations, offensive evidence reception predators, criminally foreign influence, simultaneously delusions, wrought time treatments, sequence treatments, value treatments, substance treatments. They are backed into and as overt criminal enterprises, as criminal insidiousness nature is the same way. Follow correlation simultaneously interactive means and progressive means when they justify the responses to with the negative value nature progressions acts and nature is caused by what New York City is designed only capable of to cause. And they want to make an opinion other first. That's because they're getting away with it. People making crazy opinions because in collusion with with people with QAnon and CNN. They're pretending people have what they're making descriptions of people's language rather than focusing on specific acts. So they said they took all this time to play music and everything just to say that the guy with I forgot his name, with Sandy Hook, Newtown involved, because there are names with Sandy Hook, Newtown involved with crimes with kids, intercities, and on and off a principal child abuser's campus. Now they have the lawyers of the victims also recorded criminally involved with the lawyers of the news locations that would rather have themselves charged with predicate acts. Even though no one's going to charge them, they're going to have to. Because, in other words, otherwise they have to keep isolating me and others from being heard by others. So that people call up fake complaints to the Wethersfield Police Department, like a Yagman family and others on all sides of the schools in Wethersfield involved criminally with ties between themselves and uses of it where they have drugs and medicines, crimes, roles. Timed uses of the untimely deaths. One on the campus of Trinity College with the names involved with predicate acts on my street and confessions involved with that and uses of their confessions. So they use confessions where they make locations and instances where people hear and see other people's names. Then no one can go back and be honest. But they're going to have to speak anyway. So follow mandated law for Wethersfield, Connecticut. Don't have them pretend to be capable of elections, especially if they heard what I said and then they made some description about what I said. We'll focus on the specific names forging and switching and make sure we get them onto paper. CNN, you guys are involved with elections crimes too. That's recorded. These are elections locations, Wethersfield town offices and the Wethersfield Police Department and religious locations involved with the names brought up with the forging names, switching names, wire crime, sequence shift, they called me up to make those confessions about the switching names with more names introduced too. Sullivan. Now there's a whole bunch of more officers with also Facebook. There's an officer, Jerry Miller, who's also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed one of the ones involved with the women I don't know the names of when they were girls. And this Joshua Stryker, since he was a kid, and the Joshua Julian, who coordinated predicate acts intercities on off the campuses, spreading lies also with quoting news articles that were way back in the time, with corruption with the FBI in the past, in overt criminal enterprises, and people associated with those body dumping spots before those murders even happened, as the people now and through time on off the state judicial branches with the recorded confessions confirmed also on Facebook. That's why they take Facebook pages away from people. Because in other words, they've been using offensive evidence reception, and there's a whole bunch of ways to demonstrate that. That's what's actually hyper-recorded. Nature keeps demonstrating it. But you have to keep the only people allowed with the platforms for speech involved offensively with identity thefts and frauds as styles of it, because they've already been with offensive evidence reception, worse than racketeering, and roles with crimes against kids in cases, and with their doctors of the kids, the poor kids that actually have those doctors, and the ones they pretend to have conversations and ties to kids. You have some sick predators also with the natures of things. I found out that can be used to diagnose people as having mental illnesses, and that's not even debatable up, because they also fabricated faked the conversations with me completely. Then they used it 2 other times, forcing me for mental evaluation. That's one of the ways with the Hartford Hospital, with the people involved with the drugs and medicines crimes on my street with them before they did that. That's what's recorded, and on Facebook. So there's a Judge Killian also, for example, involved with the sequence shifts and speaking fake things at the records with doctors and with other judges before that, and with this Leahy family that I never had a conversation with. And as one of the ones with the C.M. Faglione and O'Brien family recorded confessed to me, she confirmed involved with identity thefts with them, frauds with them, and conversations with houses around the schools, used as background information with their fabricating peripherally fake things while they're making fabricated police reports. So my town's police chief from 1 year ago are involved with predicate acts with the same house, and the other one's tied to it, involved with fact-cheating nature predicate acts, and with the families that answered phones for the police through time, also involved with my area criminally. Further, with a town oil company. Now they're pretending it's personal, because they're involved, because the identity thefts and frauds they were attaching me and others to fake natures of ties to others. They put someone walking next to you and pretend you know them. Literally, that's how they have to hide lipoaggressions, per what I caught them doing from the grammar schools, and then at the middle school, and then at the high school. They're keeping people individually grouped in their families. In other words, they're keeping them needing to hide lipoaggressions, including with the private school kids. Kept needing to hide the same lipoaggressions, same criminally foreign influence uses of other people's names, relative to where they have timed instrument. In other words, you don't discern why and how there's the people pretending that they're trying to counter problems legitimately with the kids, with the rise in crimes and the Rolls-Royce shootings and all the different kinds of crimes, with the locations, intercities. These are the people in collusion with what is consciously, methodically confessing, demonstrating, recording collusion with overt criminal enterprises and or with differential criminally foreign influenced logic that are and identities and titles uses that are confirmed, demonstrated, recorded at the youngest grades. They are capable of discerning, way more than the people that are pretending to care for them can afford to admit. So the Institute of Living further, all in the Hartford Hospital, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously also have roles with the pattern of people involved with identity thefts and frauds, with the wire client crimes clicks that are also involved with predicate acts with the locations next to the news media. WFSB recorded, confirmed, demonstrated, confirmed a whole bunch of people from Wethersfield, like associated with a Mark Violette and a Mike Violette, and with a Ray Cololo, and these are the people and cousins of his, like people with the name Scalora and Phil Clo are further involved then and now with the principal child abusers campus and with identity thefts and frauds against me with their extended family members and roles with the Smith family, the other families that answer phones for the Wethersfield police, and other Wethersfield police personally criminally involved with them, and with the uses of their sexual circles, and then pretending that's, in other words, they brought that up into public, and then they want to pretend to hide at other locations, not legitimately. They're bringing things up because that's why they make confessions to strangers out of nowhere. I don't even know who those people at what's his name's house. There's a Mike Roberts recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed by a whole bunch of friends of his, like Eric Jensen. I barely saw him and them together. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with federal crimes with Joe DeMauro and a Mike Pandolf, with some judges and prosecutors and people all along Old Wethersfield and all into the streets at the corner of Main Street and Old Wethersfield, and the Hanson house and the house of that kid who looks just like one of the murderers in a mass shooting. Because they also have the Sandy Hook, and they have people with the name Lanza, and they have doctors associated with him, and like those medical locations as the ones involved with the drugs and medicines crimes, and with these tricks with the databases where they stick fake things into databases, and uses of the girls and boys to get over on other boys and girls sickly distinctly, also being used to keep how non-distinctly from being discerned, because they don't even discern it because they're used remotely. Before any sophistication was here, before our founding parents were even born, there was already a breaching method here, maintaining remote uses, measured and maintained, and then further measured and maintained through our own, without having seen what it measures and maintains. That's the outcome/S it maintains. So people pretend that, in other words, other people approached me with lies when I was a kid, as liars, pretending to be about truth. And it was proven through time that I was right about them and about the people tied to them. And I don't even know them. And they have to hide that. They have to lie about that. And then they value instances where they make fake conversation, fake ties to me years later. Oh, because then you can pretend you know me from those instances? Some girl or some woman at Trinity College involved with these police forms. And this Joshua Stryker, pretend conversation with me. Pretend I never had a conversation with him in my life. He's involved with all these confessions of a ILO family and of a Oliveri family, who's one of the families also down along Route 3, which goes, and those spots are near the state judicial branch offices, and houses near the state judicial branch offices. Also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed as a stranger sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirmed that when I was a kid. And that was also as the ones involved with confessions tied to the world, their roles with insights and people inside the World Trade Center. Now there's also a Joe Dennis involved with drugs and medicines crimes, formerly where they're drugging patients and pretending that they're legitimately, even if that isn't him on the what is written on a LinkedIn page. So these insurance companies are also involved with investigators that are also, there's an Inspector Mike with the Wethersfield Fire Department /S, and there's ones intercities. There's one right next to Trinity College involved with the names involved with the federal crimes with the guns and the mayor, former Mayor Gold, like this Iola family. And there were other mayors and their kids involved with Trinity College and with UConn cliques and with CCSU cliques involved with predicate acts leading up to and as relevant to their roles with the names and sequence shifts and other natures of predicate acts and wrongdoing relevant in the 9/11 context, the night before it, leading up to that, and since in that morning too. That's why proven afterwards were the sequence shifts, and then that put the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his defendant capacities in a 2006 district court case. They didn't bring that in the news because they're also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with the predicate acts. I don't know if CCSU, I don't know if Trinity College relevant to that then, And since, I still haven't got a response from them. They have an officer named Darth Vader pretending passions and emotions with you guys. They're pretending in other words, motivations matter. When someone tries to tell that they don't know people, liars came up to me lying. Doesn't matter their motivations either. That's just the truth I'm trying to tell. They're not letting me tell such truths. Strangers are offensively pretending passions and emotions against me since I was a kid, with people that were sequence shifts and federal crimes from spots before that. There's a snowball effect against everyone, because then when you try to use, even complete strangers, there's a sick logic that behind what justifies, where they have, they have the overt criminal enterprises talking and music in the background. They have CNN talking about murders and kids getting murdered and stuff. They're playing games, and they have music playing in the background. And they're saying to go after people for conspiracy theories. They're trying to make the law with it's not using real premises. They're not using real sequence. That's the first thing. So follow that, because there are other names besides former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, criminally involved.